Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So, update. Alright, I heard back from Traxxas. Not a real happy camper, but I thought I'd let you know because I said I would. So, we have a little bit of an update. Before I tell you what happened with Traxxas, a little bit of an update on this little guy. It's running beautiful. Both batteries are operating the way they should. We're not getting cogging, we're not getting shutdowns. Aside from one little glitch that happened in the range, which was probably my bad because I was way up the hill. Okay, really pushing my luck, but I thought, hey, you gotta find out, right? Other than that, no hiccups, and no hiccups since that little one with the range thing, and I've gone out, you know, almost as far again, and then I turned around. So it's more than adequate for range. I'm happy. I'm very happy with the performance of the machine. It's working just great. We still have the steering issue to deal with, and that's something I'm actually on my own with, apparently. Turns out that he said, well, if it would have been on the list, they would have looked at it. Well, it was on the list. Actually, I believe it was the top of the list, or somewhere near the bottom of the list, maybe. There was a big list of stuff that was going on with this truck, so, you know, I gave them a fully detailed list, exactly what they wanted. Well, they ignored it, because in their world, apparently, you drive the car, you start running the control, and as soon as it drives straight, that's good enough for them. It drives straight. They don't care where the trim control sits. They said it's not important where it sits. Well, it kind of is important. So apparently, my thinking, I didn't say this to him, but my thinking is, obviously he does not understand how a real car even functions. So he doesn't understand that the trim control at the 3/4 point, when you go to the full point, that servo can barely even move. So it's not even going to allow me for any real wear and tear on the vehicle's parts to be able to reset and go straight again. So, okay, whatever. I'm not asking for the dial to be set right at 0 and the thing drives straight. However, if it had adjustable steering rods, I can make that happen. I've got my Summit so dead bang on that I'm only one little tick past center. My wife's Stampede VXL, same deal, perfect setup, you know, because the adjustability is there. Camber, caster, toe, hey, 3 critical components needed in every vehicle, right? Well, you need them in RCs too. And I got the camber and the caster stuff okay in this thing, but no toe adjustment. Wow, not surprising. So anyway, I'm putting in the second servo, and the second servo should straighten out a lot of that because I've gone over this truck with a fine-tooth comb since I got it back. And my right side is actually tighter than my left. My left has a lot more play in it, as you can see, and the right side not so much. Now if I try and get these things to sit straight, I'm noticing that this is going out this way, okay? So I've got to, you know, suck it back in, which will cause this to go this way, which means I'll be able to retrim it back this way, which means it'll re-straighten back up and drive a lot straighter. It's not going to be perfect, but it's definitely going to assist in a lot better because this area in here is the loose spot, right, on this side, and it's the left side that's too loose. And so when you recalibrate your trim control to drive straight, you've definitely got one wheel pointing outwards where it shouldn't, and you got to realign that. So it's kind of a funny little business to do that. I'm going to be ordering some adjustable toe link kits from either Energy or GPM, and we'll get those in and get those put on eventually when I get the money for it, probably next month or the month after. But in the meantime, I'm going to have my servo done because I've already ordered parts in from the States from a guy that sells Traxxas parts. And part of that kit that I bought is actually the remaining pieces I need to install the second servo that I got hanging on my wall. Because I was smart when I bought this truck, because I had heard a few stories about the servo puking. And you know, I'm not going to wait for Traxxas to send me a friggin' servo in the mail. I was like, you know what? For that money, I'll just go buy another servo for even the frustration, right? And if it dies, I got it, right? Well, I've tea kettled this thing a few times since I got it back the other day. And even at that, I mean, it's not breaking my servo. And it's like, theoretically, it should have, but it didn't. And so my servo's holding together. So the second servo is going to help make that that much more stronger underneath. Plus it's going to do some corrections for me to help with that trim, to give me a little bit more room back in my trim. So that'll all be set up. But the guy totally denied that I was ever told about any parts. He thought I was saying that they were going to give me either my money back in shipping, or that I would get $62 worth of parts to compensate for the shipping. I said, no, that is not what I said. So he obviously did not read the email. I actually put a reminder notice in the box with the whole list of stuff as a reminder, hey, you know, I was told I'd be getting some parts, you know, like, you know, to help compensate for part of the shipping, right? Excuse me, the word, yeah, part of the shipping. Not all of it, just part of it, you know, to help offset the cost of it. Because 62 bucks is a lot of money to spend to ship a vehicle from here to Texas, right? And that's a lot to ask of a customer who just bought the darn thing to have to send it in right away. I mean, I spent more time screwing around on the phone and doing stuff they wanted me to do. I could have had it in there a week earlier had, you know, we just done it all right from the beginning. But, you know, you got to troubleshoot things just in case, right? So with all the troubleshooting that went through, you know, and whatnot, it turned out I had to send the thing in because there was just too many things going wrong. They didn't know what could be the cause of any of it. You know, it could have been anything. It could have been the motor doing it. It could have been the ESC. You know, who knows? Turns out it was a battery. And that was another thing that ticked me off. And I told them, I'm really not amused with you, but right now is the battery, they put it in writing. We've replaced your battery as a courtesy. Now the word courtesy on this planet means we did you a favor. No, you didn't do me a favor. I spent 25 bucks in tax on a battery. Now we don't know which battery they replaced, the one that came with the truck or the spare one, because it's almost impossible to tell the two apart, right? So, and they didn't know either. So one of the batteries gets replaced. Regardless, it's brand frickin' new. It's been through like, what, 2 cycles? Maybe 3? Okay, 3 tops probably. Either way, it's brand new and it should be warranted for at least, you know, 30 days, right? They got to warranty stuff for a certain amount of time. Even the Titan 12 turbo motor comes with a 30-day warranty. Yeah, you know, so I'm like, whatever, you know, and I said, so what about the long antenna? What's the deal on this thing? Why does it have to be so long? 3 times I've asked. He finally comes back with, well, if you don't like it sticking up out of there, lay it down. You just finished telling me it had to stick straight up in the air to get proper range. Now you're telling me to lay it down inside the body, which is going to screw up the range. Which is it? Come on. Make up your mind. You know? My thing was to him was all my other Traxxas machines that I own, plus a lot of my other RCs, do not have much more than a 5-inch long wire tops. Okay? This thing is like pretty much about a foot, you know? And it's like, why? You know, I mean, it's ludicrous to have a wire that long unless it's an AM system. And last time I looked at my radio, it said 2.4 gigahertz. Last time I looked at my radio, there's no antenna that I go pull out, you know. So 2.4 gigahertz technology does not require long antennas unless it's a real crappy receiver. Maybe that's the ticket, okay? It's a crappy receiver, so it needs a long wire. So anyway, and if you shorten the wire, you're screwed. So it has to be sticking out like this, and you deal with it. Okay, fine. So it kind of looks a little toyish. But whatever, we deal with it for now. I'm using the stock radio equipment for a while, just because I want to go through it, make sure everything stays going good. And after about maybe 2 months from now, then I'm going to rip out the receiver that's in there. I'm going to throw in a GT3B receiver and hook her into my GT3 radio, and then I'll be done with it. Because that thing has a little antenna about this long, and it will stay inside there with a little tiny little antenna tube, and it'll be all hidden away, and I'll be even happier. Because in this way, when I roll over, especially on rocks, I'm not going to rip apart my tube and rip my antenna apart inside and screw it up. And that's the big thing, you know, is I want to make sure everything's protected. So I got to kind of watch a little bit of what I do with it for a while, you know, and until I decide to swap that receiver box out. But otherwise, the rest of the truck, guys, is running awesome. And I told them, you know, I've been doing some testing. The truck's running great. At that time, I still had to do the series hookup, see how that worked. So I actually did that yesterday. He has no idea how that result went. I don't think I told him anyways. I may have, but whatever. I did the series battery hookup, so this way you get, you know, like 16 volts running through this thing. Works beautiful and fast as hell, you know. So today, a little bit bored. Okay, it's raining out, so not a lot to do. And I decided to play around with my rear end on this thing because when it's squatted under power, my tires would just like cave right in on the top ends and the bottoms peel out. So sucks for traction and control. So I thought, well, how do we fix this? Well, we got caster and camber adjustment at least. That's a good sign. So what I did was I tightened in my bottom screws all the way, left them there. Tightened in the top screws all the way, and then I backed each one of them out 2.5 turns. So when my suspension is fully extended like it is right now, you'll see that the tires actually cock outwards. So when the rear end now goes to squat under power, now it's going to sit pretty much even. So it's going to give me better control in cornering and more stability, okay? Because before, if I push down all the way here, it was even worse than this going in at the tops before when I was only at this point. So now it's helped with a lot of that adjustment. So that's a good sign. Now I just got to straighten at the front end, put the second servo in there, hook that up, so when my parts get in for that, that'll be done. Get the adjustable toe links. I can finish off straightening out the rest of the steering system so I can get this control back about where it should be, you know, and then we'll have a beautiful, beautiful running truck at that point. So a few little tweaks, gonna cost me a couple more bucks, you know, to get it to my standards of what it should be, you know, and it'll be fine. And I am going to go to lipo upgrades. But I did tell him though that because of all this garbage and all this bull, and you know, he doesn't acknowledge the fact that I was even told anything. I mean, how hard is it for them to find out who they handed out the RMA number to? Who was the one that took the call? It's not that hard to figure that out. I'm sure they have to log stuff in, you know, and say I'm so-and-so on the computer, you know, and I'm dealing with this customer, and he's in, you know, North Bay, Ontario, Canada, and he's got the Summit VXL, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I did tell him, you know, even if he didn't write it down on the computer, which apparently didn't happen, no big surprise. I made a bet with my wife, you know that, and she doesn't never take bets with me. But I bet her anyways, and she still wouldn't take the bet. I bet her $100. I says, honey, I bet you $100 I don't get any parts out of them. And she didn't want to take the bet. She says, like, no bets, you probably won't. And sure enough, we were right, you know. And I would have appreciated at least some sort of compensation in parts, you know, to help offset the shipping. He's the one who offered it on the phone to begin with, the guy I was talking to, and no, I don't know who it was. You know, I just thought, hey, that sounds good to me, man. You know, so that if that helps me out and, you know, everything's good, that works for me, because then it doesn't hurt me so bad putting out that $60 if I know I'm getting some of that back in, you know, some common parts that would break, because that's what I was told. And but the other guy I was talking to on the emails and that with this truck, he's like, no, that conversation apparently never took place. We have no record of it anywhere. Well, I gave you a reminder with the paperwork about it so that you know, remember, hey, put some parts in for me that, you know, you said you'd give me. Nah, it didn't happen. And same as with the steering thing, you know, if it was on there, our lab would have taken a look at it. It was on there, you know, like, talk about frustrating, you know, and I've heard a lot of people having problems with Traxxas support. I guess I got some problems too. So I told him, you know what, under no circumstances whatsoever will you ever see me send another vehicle in for you guys, you know, to go over. You know, I will figure out somehow what the problem is, especially now I know about what a bad battery can do to one of their vehicles. That's the first thing I'm going to check over, you know. And if it turns out the batteries are not the issue, then we got electronics issues, in which case they can send me parts, you know, and that would work much better, I think, you know, because I'll never send them a vehicle again. I mean, the next vehicle I plan on buying, because this is not, by the way, stopping me from buying Traxxas products. I like a lot of their products, and I have a few more picked out already that over the next couple years, you know, as I can afford them, I'm going to get them. And they're not going to be cheap either. We're talking brushless e-revo, we're talking another 110 Summit, another one of these VXLs, because the other Summit and the other VXL are going to be little shelf queens that are going to be modded to the hill. As high as I can go with them in every mod possible I can stick on one vehicle to make it really awesome. This way, and it never gets driven either. So that's the whole idea. You spend that kind of money, you don't drive it, you show it off. And that's what I want for those two. But I also want to get the 110 e-revo, I want the 116 e-revo, I want a 116 slash. You know, I want a few more machines yet from Traxxas. So just because I had a bit of a bad experience, you know, with Traxxas, which was a little upsetting, I was hoping they would have done better. You know, it's not going to discourage me from buying their products, because guys, they make some really awesome products, they really do. And they also make some really crappy products too. So my advice is, before you buy anything Traxxas, check out online reviews, whether it be, you know, written reviews on websites. Everywhere where you find that Traxxas stuff gets sold, look at every one of those sites and all of the reviews on the models that you are looking at that you want to purchase. It's your money you're spending, keep that in mind. You don't want to buy garbage. And Traxxas does make some machines that are absolutely should not even be on the shelf whatsoever. But they also make some really good stuff and some really awesome stuff, okay? Now, little spoiler alert, when it comes to the Summit, whether it's this size or whether it's the large one, okay? Buy it, okay? It's not a purchase that you will regret. And there's nothing you can compare a Summit to except the Summit, okay? Plain and simple. So, but really seriously check into the reviews, the problems, and I mean, every RC is going to have problems. This actually had some problems. I mean, it was a battery, but you know, and a longer tube was needed. But every RC has their problems, and all RCs, I don't care if you paid $500 or $50,000, they all break. Okay, some are just harder to break than others. Okay, and that's the nice thing about it, you know. So you can't just diss a product because, you know, they have a couple of lemons in their lineup. If that was the case, nobody would buy Traxxas. Nobody would buy HPI. Nobody would buy HSP. Nobody would buy, you know, Duratrax or Dumbass. Nobody would buy Align. You know, I mean, so every company has their garbage and their good and their great stuff. You just got to weed through it all and figure out what's what. And a lot of times, believe it or not, Traxxas has, I'm going to say for sure right now, because of my own knowledge from all the studying and research I've done, they have two absolutely awesome vehicles for the under $300 range. And that's all I'm going to tell you, okay? So you take it from there. But anyways, till the next time, thank you for watching. We will definitely catch you on the next video. There will be a review on this thing in about another month and a half. I want to beat this thing up myself and see how things go for my own experience. And then I can give you my actual viewpoints on this. Because I can tell you all day long, I can say, hey, you know what? This guy does an awesome review on it, blah, blah, blah. Buy it, buy it, buy it. But you know what? I want my own experience too. And to let you guys know what it took to actually break certain things, you know, that may not have been broken in those videos too. And, you know, this way you get an idea what you can and can't do with something. And I'm going to do the best I can to beat the daylights out of this stuff for you guys, you know. And I'm getting to the point now where, you know, I don't even care if it breaks. If it breaks, it breaks. You just fix it, right? That's what it's about. You know, just like during the winter time, I know, a little bit extra. But during the winter time, I finally decided to take out my RCs that I normally wouldn't in the winter, you know, regardless, you know, and I just said, you know what, if I blow it up, I blow it up, you know, I fix it, you know, and so I've developed a whole new way of thinking on this stuff. So anyways, thanks again, we'll see you on the next video, and feel free to leave your comments and questions, and we'll go from there.